Speaking of love interests, I think your character has more last names than Liz Taylor does.
We're doing a pretty good race.
Yes. Although strangely enough, at least Lisa could have had the last word Dixon at the end of that, and I know that I think one of the more recent storylines involved you with Larry Brigman, who is no longer with the show, and I know he had his own reasons for leaving. And I don't know if I forgot who said this at SoapNet for the World Turns 50th Anniversary retrospective, but somebody mentioned that the show could not be, with respects to you, the show would not be the show as it is now without Larry Brigman's involvement and participation. And I know that he must have. I don't know what the situation entailed about his departure from the series, but I
think that he wanted to leave, and he's been so busy on Broadway. He is where every time I turn around, he's in another play, and that's his love. That's what he wants to do. Yeah. And I miss him terribly. I just thought he was just terrific.
I miss him too. He was.
Everybody does.
Yeah, he was a great bad guy.
He was.
Who could always be reformed. He always had a good heart.
He had a lovable side that made a bad guy good.
Yeah, and it's very, very rare nowadays because, unfortunately, you can't really find humanity in a villain anymore.
I know.
It takes at least it takes someone of good writing quality to do that. I know you've worked with a tremendous amount of individuals who've no longer been around: Santos Ortega, Don McLaughlin, Henderson Forsyth. Those individuals are sadly no longer with us. I know that I believe you've had some scenes, at least with Don Hastings as of late. It was very, very touching to see the episode in 2000 where you and Don had danced together at the end. That was very, very lovely to see.
Wasn't that was a well-written show. I just think they did a really good show.
I think the 50th anniversary show itself, I know there was some mixed fan reaction, but of course it was much better in comparison to what was aired the episode beforehand.
Right.
But at least with the having, I guess, what you will call the seven divas.
Yes. That was fun.
Yes. And obviously having something to do with just an overturned bus and a bear.
A real bear. When I read the script, I thought, well, who's going to play the bear? And then when we got to the studio, they said, now this is going to be a real bear, and we don't want anyone to be afraid. Her name is Diana, and she's been on The Sopranos, and she came with a 40-foot trailer, and her trainer, her agent, and one other person, her manager. And she was a wonderful bear, and we were just intrigued with her. And at first they said, don't look at the bear, don't catch her eye. In fact, get off the set. And I said, how can we react if the bear isn't there?
Yeah.
And so we finally got to act with the bear. And she paid no attention to us. All she wanted were the little marshmallows they had hidden in different places for her.
So you couldn't look at the bear, you couldn't talk to the bear. Was it a bear or was it Barbara Streisand?
No, it really was a bear.
I kid. I realize that there is an important event coming up. By the time this will be for broadcast. There's another anniversary luncheon, and of course there'll be mention of that later on in the show, as I'll mention to the gentleman who hosts this program. But another luncheon, a celebration, in this case for the 51st anniversary of World Turns. But it must have been very, very heartwarming last April, to be in a room with everybody, Helen Wagner, everybody who's been involved from day one,
right.
And to be in a room with fans who have watched the show, whose mom has seen the show, whose grandmother, whose great grandmother have seen the show. They've all grown up. It must be terribly wonderful to experience, but also yet humbling as well, considering how far that everybody has come in the course of the past half century.
I don't know how to respond to that, except to say that to be there, it's almost like your extended family.
Mm-hmm.
And people, the audience, for so many years, really felt they grew up feeling like as though they knew us. and that they could just come up to us and start talking. Now, listen, my husband did this and this. Now, what would you do? And that was really the way it was, especially many years ago. But to be with all the fans that day was really, really quite wonderful.
Nobody chased you down hitting you with pocketbooks or anything, right?
No, not now. Not now.
That's good.
I haven't done anything bad in such a long time, but that was quite a shock to me back in 1960 when I first came on the show.
I could imagine, because it's interesting, the power of television and how that fourth wall is more or less removed, and you're seeing the action, and the drama is so intense, and the acting is so intense.
When that happened, people felt many years ago, television was new. They felt, and this is not casting aspersions on the audience, but they thought it was real. They thought it was really happening, and when I had done such terrible things and tried to get Bob and lie to him and all of those things, that's when I was walking down the street in front of, I guess it was Lord and Taylor, and this really lovely lady came up to me. It was the first time I was ever recognized, and she said, she had on a Chanel suit, a real one. This is before they had knockoffs. And she said, "Aren't you Lisa?" And I thought, she wants my autograph. And I said, "Yes, that's the part I play." And I looked down to get my pen, and she said, "Well, I hate you." And she hit me, and everybody on the street turned and looked at me, and they went, "Bad girl." And she walked away. Nobody said anything to her. And my pen went down into the gutter. It was a Tiffany pen.
Well, I'm sure now that if you happen to walk into a restaurant, everybody is going to be the first to pay for your dinner. So,
well, yes, that's a nice thing. There are so many nice things that have happened because of Lisa. She's been good to me.